أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. Lesson number 181, Surah An-Nur, ayah number 32 to 34. وَأَنْكِحُوا الْأَيَامَ مِنْكُمْ, and marry the unmarried among you. وَالصَّالِحِينَ مِنْ عِبَادِكُمْ وَإِمَائِكُمْ, and the righteous among your male slaves and female slaves. Get them married. إِن يَكُونُوا فُقَرَاء, if they should be poor, يُغْنِهِمُ اللَّهُ مِنْ فَضْلِهِ, Allah will enrich them from His bounty. وَاللَّهُ وَاسِعٌ عَلِيمٌ, and Allah is all-encompassing and He is knowing. In this ayah, the command is being given to the awliya, the guardians of those people who are single. Whether it is their parents, or it is their grandparents, or it is their family, the command is to the guardians. And it's not just to the guardians, but it's extended out to the entire Muslim community, the entire Muslim society. So, what is this command that is being given to the Muslim community? What is this command that is being given to the guardians of singles? That وَأَنْكِحُوا الْأَيَامَ مِنْكُمْ. Ankihu, from the root letters nun, kaf, ha, nikah. Nikah is marriage. And ankaha, yunkihu, is to get someone married. It is to give someone in marriage. So ankihu, get married, give in marriage. Who? Al-ayama minkum. Al-ayama is the plural of ayyim. Ayyim, from the root letters hamza, ya, mim. And the word ayyim is used for a person who is free, a free person, so basically they're not a slave, free, but they do not have a spouse. They do not have a spouse. And it's the opposite of the word thayyib. Thayyib is married, and ayyim is single. So for example, ayyim could apply to a woman who does not have a husband. She could be a woman who has never been married, a virgin. She could be a widow, a woman who was married but her husband passed away. She could be divorced. She was married but now she has been divorced. So who is she? A single woman. A woman who is not in a marriage contract. And the word ayyim also includes a man who does not have a wife. It could be a man who has never been married. It could be a man whose wife has passed away. It could be a man who has divorced his wife. So, ayyim is basically a single person. A man or a woman who is single. So these single people, don't let them remain single. What does Allah say? أَنْكِحُوا الْأَيَامَ مِنْكُمْ. And minkum meaning from you Muslims. So first of all, get them married. And secondly, who else should you get married? وَالصَّالِحِينَ مِنْ عِبَادِكُمْ. And the righteous ones from your male slaves, وَإِمَائِكُمْ, and your female slaves. Ibad is a plural of abd. And abd is who? A servant. And over here it gives the meaning of slave. And in particular, male slave. And ima'ikum, ima is the plural of amatun. And amatun, how will you write it? Just as the word ummah. Okay? But you will change the harakat. And it's from the root letters hamza, mim, waw. And amatun is used for a female slave. Who is it? A female slave. So, get the single ones married, those who are free. And from among the slaves also, get the salihin married. And obviously, which slaves? Those who are unmarried. Because previously, such slaves were also owned who were married. Like a slave who had a wife. A slave woman who had a husband. That was also possible. But over here, which slave women and men are being referred to? Those who are unmarried. Now, one condition has been set, that as for the slaves, they should be as-salihin. What does it mean by salihin? That, first of all, they should be salih with regards to their religion, in their deen. They should be believers, they should be righteous. They should perform the obligations, and they should abstain from what is unlawful. So for example, if a person has a slave, he prays 5 times a day, he does not do anything that is haram, he is a righteous believing servant. So what does Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala say? Get him married. Help him guard his chastity. And secondly, salihin also, salih in the worldly sense. That he knows how to earn a living. he is suitable for marriage, he is able to fulfill the rights of his wife. And similarly for the woman, she is also suitable for marriage. She is able to look after children. She is able to look after her husband. So, الصَّالِحِينَ مِنْ عِبَادِكُمْ وَإِمَائِكُمْ. But what is it that stops people from getting married? What is one of the main reasons? What? Finance, money. That, for example, if a man wants to get married and he presents his wish to his parents, what do they say? You're still in school. You don't make a single penny. You're living off of us and you want to get a wife. Similarly, if a girl wishes to get married, if a man does send a proposal for her, what is looked at? That he must be a doctor, and he must have a business, and he must be of a particular age. So, many times it is the finance, it is money matters that prevents people from getting married. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that إِن يَكُونُوا فُقَرَاء, if they should be poor. Who? The unmarried ones, whether it is the ayama or it is the unmarried ones from among the slave men and the slave women. So it's possible that they are poor. However, Allah can change their financial situation. He can enrich them from His bounty. Wallahu wasi'un alim, and Allah is wasi' in His grace, in His favor, in His generosity, in His granting favors. And He is alim, He is knowing fully of His servants. He knows what people go through, what single people go through. So, get them married. Now in this ayah, we learn about a very important command. A very important command, the purpose of which is to preserve the chastity of people. We learned in the previous ayat that both men and women were commanded to lower their gaze. Now many times, young men, young women, they do not lower their gaze. Why? They're looking for a potential spouse. Or they're not satisfied sexually, so they look to other men, they look to other women. So, in order to help people lower their gaze, in order to preserve their chastity, in order to prevent them from committing zina, what should be done? Help them get married. And the command is being given to who? To the awliya. Typically, the wali is only responsible for the woman who is under his care. Isn't it so? That he is responsible for getting that woman married. However, over here, al-ayama also includes men. Because many times, even if men want to get married, the parents don't allow. The parents don't cooperate. The family does not assist. Or for example, if a young man wishes to get married, he's not financially capable. He does not have a lot of money that he could give a good mahar to his wife and also have a walima. Whose financial help does he need? His parents, his family. This is why the command is being given to the family, it is being given to the guardians, it is being given to the Muslim community. That it is your responsibility to get the single ones married. You should help them get married. You should encourage them to get married in order to protect them, in order to save them. We see that nikah, marriage, is a form of worship in our religion. It is a way of worshipping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And in some situations, marriage becomes an obligation. It becomes fard on a person. In what situation and what circumstances would it be? Like for example, a person is at the verge of committing zina. He says that, I'm sorry, I cannot control myself anymore. So in that situation, it is obligatory for him to get married. He does not have a choice. He must get married in order to preserve his chastity, in order to avoid committing haram. In other cases, marriage is wajib. Nikah is wajib. Meaning it is also mandatory, but it's not at the level of fard. It's of a lesser degree. In what situation would it be? For instance, at a time, at a place where there is a lot of fitna. So for example, if a young man in his 20s, if he is going to university, if he is going to a workplace, and he interacts with women all the time, in that case, he is a human being. He has some desires. And Allah has put those desires in his heart. He should not put himself in fitna. He should not put himself in difficulty. When he's surrounded with such women, then what should he do? It is wajib upon him to get married so that he does not go towards haram. In the case where it is fard, it is where a person is at the verge of committing haram. In the case where it is wajib, it is when a person could be on his way to committing haram. And in normal situations, marriage is masnoon. Meaning it is in following the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. There's a statement in which it has been said that 4 are the sunnah of the anbiya. 4 things are of the sunnah of all of the prophets of Allah. And what are they? First of all, modesty. Secondly, using perfume, using fragrance. Thirdly, using the miswak, cleaning your teeth. And fourthly, nikah, getting married. These are what? Of the sunnah of all of the prophets of Allah. And the Prophet ﷺ also said that an-nikahu min sunnati. That nikah is of my sunnah. It is of my way. فَمَنْ لَمْ يَعْمَلْ بِسُنَّتِي فَلَيْسَ مِنِّي. And whoever does not act upon my sunnah, then he is not of me. He does not have anything to do with me. So we see that nikah is of great importance in our religion. It is of great importance in our religion. A person cannot say, I choose to remain single, I choose not to get married, because I want to accomplish many great things in my life. Imam Bukhari never got married. This is what people say. Imam Ibn Taymiyyah did not get married. This is what people say. However, the fact is that the scholars of the past, they were not able to get married. Not because they decided not to. It was because they never got the chance to. In the sense that they were so busy in their work. They were so busy traveling for knowledge. I've told you so many incidents about Imam Ibn Taymiyyah, how many times in his life he was imprisoned. How much he was striving. He was a mujahid, he was a scholar, he was a teacher. For a long period of his life, he was a student and then he was writing. Now in that case, a person really does not get a chance to even think about getting married. So those great scholars, we should not be comparing ourselves to them. Because what they did was something extraordinary. And for us, our role model should be who? The Prophet ﷺ. Because he was the most successful man who ever walked on the face of the earth. The most successful man. In his family life, as a political leader, as a friend, in any role, as a teacher, he was the most successful. He accomplished everything that he needed to, that he had to. So, if he was married, if he had multiple wives, not just one but multiple, what does it show? That marriage is a part of fitrah. Getting married is a part of nature. And not getting married is unnatural. It goes against the fitrah. There's nothing cool about it. There's nothing great about it. What is great is that a person remains as a human being, and while he and she is a human being, with those abilities, he accomplishes great things. The Prophet ﷺ said, O Ali, never delay 3 things. Never delay 3 things. Prayer when its time approaches. When the time of salah has approached, then do not delay unnecessarily. The funeral when death is confirmed. That when a person has died, it's confirmed that they have died, then do not delay the funeral. And unfortunately, funerals are delayed. Why? Relatives have to come. The body has to be sent. Whereas what do we learn? That as soon as a person dies, we should be concerned about burying him as soon as possible. And thirdly, marrying a widow or a divorcee when a suitable match is found for her. When a suitable match is found for her. That if there is a woman whose husband died, she's a widow, or she has been divorced, then just because she is divorced, just because she's a widow, does not mean she should not be married to. If a suitable spouse, if a suitable match is found for her, then do not delay her marriage. Get her married. Why? Because marriage is one of the natural needs that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has put in the people whom He has created. And we see that nikah is greatly encouraged in our religion, and especially the youth are encouraged. The young people are encouraged. We see that the Prophet ﷺ, he addressed the youth. He said, O young men, whoever among you can afford to get married, then let him marry. Whoever of you can afford to get married, then what should he do? Let him marry. For it is more effective in lowering the gaze and protecting the private parts. In the previous ayat, we learned the command of lowering the gaze and protecting the private parts. When can a person do that? When he or she is married. We also see that the Prophet ﷺ said, there are 3 people who have a right to the help of Allah. 3 people who have a right that Allah should help them. They have this haqq, they have this right. Who? Who are these 3 people? First of all, the one who marries out of the desire to live a chaste life. The person who gets married, why? In order to remain chaste. In order to not commit haram. In order to live a chaste life that is free from illicit relationships. That is free from wrong friendships. Secondly, the slave whose master has agreed to his buying his freedom when he wishes to pay the sum. So the slave who wishes to buy his freedom and the master has agreed, so that slave, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala helps him. And thirdly, the one who fights in the cause of Allah. These are 3 people who deserve the help of Allah. And we see that in our religion, the parents and the guardians, they are advised that they should help those who are younger than them get married. And if they do receive a good proposal for their child, for their daughter, for their son, then they should not delay, unless if there is a genuine, legitimate reason. We see that the Prophet ﷺ, he said, when someone with whose religion and character, you are satisfied, asks for your daughter in marriage, then accede to his request. If you do not do so, there will be corruption and great evil on the earth. It hasn't been said, if his social status satisfies you, if his career satisfies you, if his physical appearance satisfies you, if his family background satisfies you, that he does not have many sisters, he's not the only son, so he has to look after his parents. No, these conditions have not been set. What is the condition? Religion and character. Because these 2 things are the most important. Because if a person has religion, then he will be dutiful to his wife in the sense that he will give her haqq. He will look after her. If he has good character, then again he will be good towards his wife. And if he does not have wealth today, Allah can give him wealth tomorrow. If he does have wealth today, Allah can take it away tomorrow. Wealth should not be criteria. What should be our criteria? Religion and character. Because other things, they keep changing. They keep changing. So what did the Prophet ﷺ say? That if someone as such proposes and he asks for your daughter's hand in marriage, then what should you do? Accept. And if you don't, then it's going to lead to fitna. It's going to lead to corruption on the earth. And over here, we must also be very careful that sometimes sisters, they get proposals from very good brothers, righteous brothers. And without any genuine reasons, they just keep rejecting one after the other. No, 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 no. I don't know what kind of ideal man whose picture they have made in their heads, whom they cannot find in this dunya. I remember the story I read once, that this man, he went somewhere, and it was said that there's a woman, and if you go talk to her, and if you ask her that you want a wife of this type, she will find one for you. So this man, he went to her, and he said, I wish to get married. So the woman said, okay, describe the kind of wife that you want. So he gave a very good description. Beautiful, someone who has suffered from poverty so that she will be grateful, someone who is religious. He gave a lot of details which were very idealistic. So she said, okay, pray, may Allah give you such a wife in Jannah. Meaning, I don't have a suitable spouse for you here. Your standards are very high. May Allah grant you such a wife in Jannah. So, be realistic. Be realistic. Because sometimes, unfortunately, women also, sisters also, they have such high standards that the brother should be like this, and should be like this, and should be like this, and only then I'll agree to marry him. And obviously they cannot find anyone like that. And unnecessarily marriage is delayed. Unnecessarily marriage is delayed. What did the Prophet ﷺ say? That if you do not do so, there will be corruption and great evil on the earth. It's going to lead to corruption. It's going to lead to fasad. It's going to lead to evil. Also we see that the Prophet ﷺ, he asked a man once, do you have a wife? And he said no. So he asked her, do you have a slave woman? He said no. So the Prophet ﷺ then asked him, do you have wealth? He said, yes, I have plenty. So the Prophet ﷺ said, then you are of the brothers of shaitan. Meaning, you have the ability to have a wife, but you are still not married. Then I don't know how you remain single. Then definitely a person is going to end up committing wrong things. Because it's impossible for a man or a woman who are adults, who have physical desires, who have hormones in their body, and who get to see so much corruption all the time in the era, in the time, in the place that they're living in, and they still are content remaining single. It's unnatural. And it's not possible that if a person is living like that, they would not end up doing wrong things. So the Prophet ﷺ said, then you are of the brothers of shaitan. You have the ability, but still you don't, you must get married. So we see that nikah is highly, highly encouraged in our religion. Because it is a means of preserving the chastity of people. And it is a means of helping a person lower their gaze. It protects a person. And if a person does not get married without any legitimate reason, then he is putting himself in problems. We see that marriage is one of the laws of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Marriage, nikah, is one of the natural things that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created. We learn in Surah Al-Dhariyat, ayah 49, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَمِن كُلِّ شَيْءٍ خَلَقْنَا زَوْجَيْنِ. And of everything we have created pairs. We have created two partners, meaning a male and a female. And through the male and the female, that particular creation reproduces. So this is a natural law of nature that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has set. Therefore, if a person decides that, no, I'm not going to get married, they decide to remain single, this is going against fitrah. This is going against the nature that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created. And we see that Uthman radhiyallahu anhu, he reported that the Prophet ﷺ said, anyone among you who has the ability should get married. Anyone among you who has the ability should get married, because it helps lower the gaze and guard the private parts. And whoever cannot afford it, he should fast. Because fasting is a restraint of desire for him. Is a means of restraining his desires. So we see that marriage is highly, highly recommended in our religion. And we see that it's the practice of not just the Prophet ﷺ, but also of all the previous prophets. As we have learned in the Quran, in Surah Al-Ra'd, ayah number 38, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that وَلَقَدْ أَرْسَلْنَا رُسُلًا مِّن قَبْلِكَ وَجَعَلْنَا لَهُمْ أَزْوَاجًا وَذُرِّيَّةً. And we have sent messengers before you, and we have granted them wives and children. So the prophets of Allah, they had wives. They got married. And a prophet of Allah is of the most spiritual, of the most religious people. And if they get married, then it's natural for other people who are not that religious to get married. And remember that there is no monasticism in our religion. There is no rahbaniyah in our religion. That a person says that, no, I'm not going to fulfill my desires, because fulfilling the sexual desire, it takes you away from spirituality. Therefore, I'm going to stay like this, and I'm not going to get married. No, there is no monasticism in our religion. We learned that Aisha radhiyallahu anha, she reported that Khuwaila, the daughter of Hakim bin Umayyah, she visited her once. And Khuwaila was married to Uthman ibn Maz'un. And the Prophet ﷺ, when he saw Khuwaila, he noticed that she was of a very messy appearance, meaning she had not dressed up properly, she didn't really take care of herself. And this was obviously before the ayat of hijab had come. So the Prophet ﷺ asked Aisha that, Ya Aisha, oh Aisha, what makes Khuwaila appear so messy? And what's wrong? What's the reason? Why is she like that? So Aisha replied, O Allah's Messenger, this woman's husband fasts during the day and he prays during the night. So it is as if she does not have a husband. He fasts during the day and he prays during the night, so it is as though she does not have a husband. Therefore, she has neglected her appearance. She does not really care about how she looks. So the Prophet ﷺ, he called Uthman ibn Maz'un and he said to him, "O Uthman, are you doing that because you dislike my sunnah? Are you doing that, meaning the way you're living, fasting during the day, praying during the night, staying away from your wife, is it because you dislike my sunnah?" So Uthman replied, "By Allah, no, O Allah's Messenger, rather my whole interest is to follow your sunnah." So the Prophet ﷺ then said, "Verily, I sleep and I pray. I fast and I break my fast, and I marry women. Thus fear and revere Allah, O Uthman, because your family has a right upon you, your guests have a right upon you, and yourself has a right upon you. So fast and break the fast, and pray and also sleep." So we see that if a person decides, "I'm not going to get married because I want to become more religious," then there is no religiosity in this. There is no piety in this. There is no righteousness in this. Righteousness is in what? In following the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. So we see that marriage is highly recommended, and of marriage there are many, many objectives. There are many objectives of nikah. There are many benefits of nikah. Of the benefits of nikah is, first of all, it protects the private parts. As the hadith mentions, that the Prophet ﷺ told the young men that get married because it is most helpful in, most effective in lowering the gaze and protecting the private parts. So one of the main benefits of marriage is that it protects the private parts. Secondly, a person through marriage, he or she fulfills their desires through a lawful way. Because fulfilling the sexual desire is a natural thing. And remember that the word nikah literally means intercourse. But this word has been chosen for marriage. Why? Because marriage is the only lawful way. It is the only lawful way of fulfilling this desire. And when a person uses a lawful way of fulfilling this desire, then this act also becomes an act of worship. So marriage is what? An act of worship. Then marriage is also a means of love and mercy between the two, between the husband and the wife, between the man and the woman. There's a hadith, the gist of which is that the best thing that can happen between two people who love is marriage. Because two people love one another. And the best thing that can happen between the two of them is marriage, because it will increase their love. It will increase their mercy for one another. And we also see that of the benefits of marriage is that a family comes into being. And then the children are given proper training within the family. And if a child is born outside of wedlock, and if a child is raised by a single parent, then we see that many things are neglected. That children are raised up feeling that I belong to a broken family, I come from an incomplete family. I remember somebody was telling me recently that a woman, she was single and she decided to have a child, and she got pregnant through treatment, and she had no idea whose sperm she had taken, so no idea who the father of her child was. And when the child, when he was growing up and he went to school, and he saw that everybody has a dad, I don't have a dad, he would ask the mother, who is my dad? Who is my dad? How come I don't have a father? So we see that when a man and woman are married, they create a family. And in that family, children are raised. And with that, they're raised as confident people, stable individuals. And they get proper training, because one person alone cannot train a child. Remember, a mother alone cannot look after her child. A father alone cannot look after his child. Both are needed. And we also see that nikah is a means of keeping the society free of many evils and corruption. That if people are married, then there would be no need to have prostitutes. There would be no need to have illegal ways of fulfilling sexual desire. And marriage is also something that protects lineage. And it gives a woman a strong support. It provides a woman security. And it is a means through which a person preserves his faith, through which a person preserves his religion, and he preserves his chastity. We learn from a hadith of the Prophet ﷺ that when a person gets married, he has by that completed half of his faith. When a person gets married, then by that marriage he has completed half of his faith. Then let him fear and revere Allah in regard to the remaining half. So it doesn't mean that if he marries twice, if he has 2 wives, then his religion is complete. No. That once a person is married, then half of his faith is complete, in the sense that it's taken care of. Many things he will be able to do now, in obedience to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, by being married. Like for example, when a person is married, he is providing for his family. Every morsel of food that he gives to his wife, that he gives to his child, every penny, every cent he spends, what is it? Sadaqah. It's written as charity for him. He's given the reward of charity. So many things a person is able to do when he or she is married, and if a person is not married, they will not be able to follow many of the commands that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given. And marriage is something that gives a person the ability to enjoy love, to enjoy security, to enjoy mercy. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in Surah An-Nur, ayah number 21, that وَمِنْ آيَاتِهِ أَنْ خَلَقَ لَكُم مِّنْ أَنفُسِكُمْ أَزْوَاجًا لِتَسْكُنُوا إِلَيْهَا وَجَعَلَ بَيْنَكُم مَّوَدَّةً وَرَحْمَةً إِنَّ فِي ذَلِكَ لَآيَاتٍ لِقَوْمٍ يَتَفَكَّرُونَ. That among His signs is that He created for you from yourselves spouses, that He may dwell with security and peace unto them. And He set between you love and mercy. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one who creates love and mercy between the spouses. Surely in that are signs for those who reflect. And earlier we read in Surah Al-Baqarah that هُنَّ لِبَاسٌ لَكُمْ وَأَنْتُمْ لِبَاسٌ لَهُنْ, in ayah 187. That they are a garment for you and you are a garment for them. So we see that there are many, many benefits associated with nikah. And that is why nikah is encouraged and zina is discouraged. That we see that at the beginning of the surah, zina is discouraged. How? By the punishment that has been given. And over here, nikah is being encouraged. Because nikah leads to peace and zina leads to chaos and corruption, disorder in the society. Now in this ayah, 2 commands have been given. That first of all, get the free ones married, and secondly, get the slaves married as well. But from among the slaves, who should be married? Those who are salihin. The salihin have specifically been mentioned. And this tells us a very, very important thing. That a person who is to get married should also be ready for marriage. Because salihin has been mentioned in particular. And salihin has been mentioned in particular for slaves. Why? Because slaves, because of the life that they have lived in slavery, it's possible that they are used to many wrong things. Like for example, in the days of Jahiliyyah, slave women were used as prostitutes. So if a woman such as that is gotten married to, she is used to sleeping with one man today, with another man tomorrow. For her, it's not a big deal. So if she does get married, then what's going to happen? She will not be able to remain faithful to her husband. It will not be a big deal for her that she's with one man today and with another man tomorrow. So salihin is a very important condition. Similarly, we see that slaves were completely dependent on their masters. They were not used to taking responsibility. They were not used to providing for others. And they were not able to experience many things in life which make a person responsible, which make a person able to look after a family. Therefore, for the slaves, what condition has been mentioned? That they should be salihin. That they are righteous people. They are obedient to Allah. They perform the obligations. And at the same time, in the worldly sense as well, they are good. Because only then they will be able to remain faithful to their spouses. And only then marriage will be a means of peace and comfort for them. Otherwise, marriage could lead them to great trouble. Because we see that marriage is not just about fulfilling your sexual desire. Marriage is more than that. Marriage is about great responsibility that is put on the shoulders of both the man and the woman. Where the man is responsible to provide for his family, the woman is responsible to take care of her husband and her children. So this shows to us that it is the responsibility of the parents, of the guardians, of the Muslim community to also prepare people for marriage. That it's not just that once a person hits 20, then that's it, you start looking for a potential spouse for them. No, also prepare them for marriage. Because, for example, a boy, if he is very, very dependent on his parents, that he has not even been taught the basic things as to how to manage money, how to make money, how to stand up for his wife, how to take responsibility for his children, how to put money in a bank account. If he does not even have a driver's license, then will he be able to look after his wife and children? He will not be able to. Similarly, if a girl, all her life she's been taught, you go to school, you're studying, and she's not taught how to work in the kitchen, for example, then when she will get married, her marriage will cause her great trouble. Unfortunately, we think that what's very, very important is that a girl should have a career, should be stable, so that when she gets married, in case something happens, she's able to support herself. That's very, very important. Very good idea. However, what's more important for her is that she should be able to cook food for her children. She should be able to provide healthy meals for her family. She should be able to maintain the house. She should be able to look after herself. Because if she's not able to do this, then marriage will be a means of trouble for her. So, yes, getting singles married is important. But at the same time, preparing them for marriage is also very important. As parents, when you have a son, you have a future father, you have a future husband in your care. When you have a daughter, you have a future wife, a future mother in your care. So don't just baby her all the time, doing everything for her all the time. No, train her. Make her learn the different things, make him learn different things so that they are capable of having a family, of looking after a spouse, of being a good spouse, because this is the reality of life. We cannot avoid it for too long. So, before getting our children married, what should we think about? Preparing them for marriage. And as singles, before thinking about marriage, think about wising up. Because marriage is about responsibility. Marriage is not just about, having a spouse who's your friend, with them you do a lot of fun things and you go out. Because unfortunately for many girls, they think once I get married, I'll be free. Then I can do whatever I want. My husband can cook. We'll get a maid. We'll eat out all the time. Right? This is what girls think in an imaginary world. And when they get married and the realities of life hit them, then it becomes very, very challenging. I remember somebody was once telling me that when they were young, the first time they worked somewhere and they got a paycheck, the first time ever, their father said, "This goes to your mother and your sisters. You're supposed to divide this paycheck between your mother and your sisters. You're not getting any of this." And he had to do that. Because his father was teaching him that this money you're earning, it's not so that you can buy one phone after the other, one computer after the other, one gadget after the other. No, you're making this money to look after your family. So he was given this training from the beginning. That first paycheck went between his mother and his sisters. And unfortunately, boys, they're never given this training. Boys will be in their mid-20s, they will be 30, but still they're like teenagers. They don't have this sense of responsibility because they've never been taught that they're supposed to be looking after their children. And we see this, that the vast majority of our youth, the vast majority of our young people within Muslims, they're not ready for marriage. Which is why many times they get married and within a year or two, the marriage comes to an end. They're not ready for marriage, neither mentally, nor physically, nor are they socially able, and they don't have that ability to take the responsibility for marriage. So it's very, very important. And we see that a person must be trained from the very beginning, as a child, as an adult, through school years, through university, so that they're able to get married and have a family. And we see in this ayah that one of the major things that prevents people from getting married is financial concerns. That I don't have enough money. Because it is a reality that part of the responsibility that comes with marriage is to provide for the wife and children. It is the responsibility of the man. He cannot say, I don't have anything, however, I'd like to get married to your daughter. I don't have a job, I don't have any savings, I don't have anything, although I would like to get married to your daughter. No, a person must have something. Because it is his responsibility to look after his wife and children. But we see that if a man has even some money, if he has some income, but if that income is not up to your standards, many times such men will be rejected. Their proposals will be rejected. Because in our minds, especially within our cultures, we have the standard that the boy has to have completed his university. He has to have been working for the past 2 years. He must have his own car. He must be at the point of buying a house in the near future. He must be living independently. And if that is not the case, too bad, I cannot get married to him. But we see that if this is the only reason that prevents parents from getting their daughters married or getting their sons married, then this is not a legitimate reason. This is not a legitimate reason. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says over here, إِن يَكُونُوا فُقَرَاء يُغْنِهِمُ اللَّهُ مِنْ فَضْلِهِ. If they are poor, Allah will enrich them from His bounty. I remember one of my friends, when she got married, her husband had just graduated from school. Just graduated. And he had applied for work at different places, but he hadn't yet received a response. And he was still living with his parents. He was still financially dependent on his parents. But his parents supported him. And he got married. And the day he got married, the next day, he had his job interview. And he got that job. How often is it that people graduate and immediately they get a job? How often is it? Hardly. Over here, especially today, having a bachelor's degree, having an undergrad degree is nothing. You can't get a good job with that. You have to have, one certification after the other certification. You have to have your master's at least, and then you can get a good job. And I was amazed, because this boy, he wanted to get married. His parents understood, they supported him, they helped him. He was a responsible boy, which is why he was applying for work. And alhamdulillah, he got his work the next day. So, never think that just because this person does not have money right now, therefore, I don't think I'll be able to get married to him. Because these circumstances, they can change. They can change at any time. And we see in Surah Al-Ra'd, ayah number 26, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that Allahu yabsutu rizqa liman yasha. Allah is the one who extends provision for whomever He wills. So, when it comes to money, when it comes to wealth, this is Allah's decision. So never make it a big issue. Never make it a big issue. And the reason why this point is stressed is because many times people delay marriage, many times people avoid marriage, or they reject a potential spouse. Why? Because of financial reasons. And this is not a legitimate reason. The problem arises when we look at what people have, and when we don't look at what Allah has. If our eyes are on the bank accounts of people, then definitely we'll never be content. We'll always be afraid. But if our eyes are upon the khaza'in of Allah, then we will not have any fears. Now it doesn't mean you don't be practical at all. Just because a man says he wishes to get married, he doesn't have any means at all, you say, okay. No. Be practical. However, don't have very high conditions. Very high standards. Be realistic. And especially, you see over here in this ayah, ayyama have been told to get married. Single ones have been told to get married. And usually these people are young. And young people, they're just beginning their careers. They're just perhaps beginning their work life, their business, or whatever they're doing. So at that time, there's a lot of risk involved. So don't just delay because there is a risk that is involved. No. If they're a righteous person, a good person with good akhlaq, go ahead. Allah is the raziq. He will provide. And just remember that whatever provision Allah has written for you, you will get it. Whether you marry a billionaire or you marry someone who is not that rich. Whatever rizq Allah has written for you, you will definitely get it. And if you're confused, if you're unsure, do istikhara. Pray to Allah. Make dua to Him to show you the best option, to give you the best option. So, in this ayah, we have been given the command that the single ones, so if for instance, sometimes young girls, they don't like the fact that Other people are sending proposals and they say, I don't want to get married and don't talk about marriage. Don't get offended. Other people are doing you a favor. Other people are doing you a favor. And sometimes people say, no, but I don't wish to get married, and why do they have to look in this way? Too bad, you're a girl. And there are guys out there who wish to get married, and girls who want to get married. People want to have families. So there's nothing that is to be made a big deal out of this situation. It's not a big deal. It doesn't mean that you talk openly about it, that if a woman is looking for spoken to directly, rather, her parents, her family, they should be spoken to. So be very careful, be very sensitive with regards to these things. Now what about those people who are trying to get married, but they can't find a spouse? Or those people who want to get married, but their families are not cooperating with them? The circumstances are not just adding up. What are they supposed to do?